Hello, and welcome to A Brand New Day with BTS, a podcast dedicated to bringing you a day-by-day history and song discussion of the South Korean music group internationally known as BTS. In this episode, we talk about March 17th in BTS history, all of J-Hope's current activity, and the nature of personal growth as we discuss Change Part 2 by RM from the album Indigo. First, BTS activity last week, March 8th to March 14th, 2025. Once again, I'm going to talk about everyone who isn't J-Hope first, because this past week has been mostly J-Hope. It was Suga's birthday on the 9th. He turned 32. He is still in his private citizen era, so we didn't hear from him, but we did hear from Jungkook and Jimin on Weverse that day. First, Jungkook recommended a bunch of music through his Instagram account he has for his dog Bam. Then Jungkook posted on Weverse that the weather was finally getting better. Jimin immediately commented saying that it was still cold. JK replied telling Jimin to stop commenting when he's sitting right next to him. Jin did a Weverse livestream for BTS in the Psalm mobile game, in which he played the game and interacted with ARMY in the virtual plaza, and gave out in-game gifts. This had been an event that was originally scheduled back when Jin's album Happy was released, but had to be postponed due to schedule conflicts with other filming. Jin was active commenting on Hobie's post asking if he's the master of English now. But we also got Run Jin episode 25, which is the second part of the Squid Games themed episodes. On Thursday, Jin attended an event for Fred Jewelry in Seoul. He looked absolutely amazing, like he just walked out of a storybook or a romance novel about a dashing prince. The Fred necklace that he wore for the photo call was diamond and emerald, and inspired by Argentinian architecture, which is really cool. And that brings us to the end of the other member news. It was a quiet week for them. And now we continue and talk about J-Hope, who is ridiculously active right now for obvious reasons. Hobie traveled to New York, doing a live stream on his way to the airport. Before he left Korea, however, he did a series of dance challenge videos with various idols for Sweet Dreams. You could find them all on Big Hits TikTok or Bangtan TV YouTube Shorts. Hobie has also shared some of them to his personal accounts. Hobie has done several station head listening parties, as well as a Spotify listening party. You can listen to the station head parties even after they've happened if you have a Spotify or Apple Music account, and the station head listens count towards streaming numbers. He also had rehearsals for The Tonight Show, where McGill also performed with him. Before they filmed the show, they filmed a dance challenge video in the rehearsal space, and J-Hope posted it to his Instagram. Then, of course, there was an actual filming of the appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. It was a great appearance. While the segment that aired on TV was relatively short, you can see a longer interview on The Tonight Show's YouTube channel, along with the performance of Sweet Dreams. Between when the show was filmed and when it aired, Hobie did a live stream and let ARMY know that he has 2 more digital singles being released soon. He also explained why these are digital singles and not an album. Mainly that Hobie likes his albums to have a theme and a lot of thought put into them, and he does not have the time currently to devote that much time to the album. But he still wanted us to have these fun songs that he had time to make before his tour started. Hobie also recorded an iHeartRadio Z100 interview, but as of today, I don't think we've been told when it's airing, or at least I personally haven't seen it, so keep your eyes out for that. Ahead of day 1 of Hobie's North American tour, Hobie was teasing that something was going to happen at the first show in Brooklyn, New York, and it turned out to be a live stage premiere of his next single called Mona Lisa. You can find fan cams of it online already. Personally, I'm going to wait until I see it live for myself or it's released. J-Hope also appeared on the Korean YouTube talk show Diva Gabi Girl, in which the guests pretend to be divas. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but it looks like a ridiculously fun time. And my news cutoff is Friday Korean Standard Time, but tonight, Friday Eastern Daylight Savings Time, the time zone that J-Hope is currently in, he'll be doing day 2 of the Hope on the Stage in Brooklyn, New York. Throughout all of his activity, Hobie has been very active on Instagram, sharing posts from other people and photos from Big Hit. If you want to see all his activity, his Instagram is a really good place to go. Just this morning, he posted photos from last night's concert, and they're really amazing photos taken by the Big Hit team. And that's it for BTS activity last week. I look forward to talking about J-Hope more next week. I'm sure he'll be very active. Hopefully the others will pop in when they can. But it's the last 99, what is it now? Less than 99, 97 days, 96 days until we get them all back. So they are finishing up their military duty and probably very busy. And Jin has mentioned on the Weverse live for BTS in the Psalm mobile game that he is purposely being quiet right now in order to give J-Hope more attention for all his activity, which is, of course, very understandable from Jin, who's very extremely is supportive of the other members. So yeah, next week. Looking forward to it. This day in BTS history, March 17th. March 17th, 2013. BTS post a vocal practice video featuring Jungkook and tweet about it. But the most important thing that happens on this day is that the members all go to Lotte World amusement park together. Jimin keeps the ticket in his wallet as a souvenir right up until at least 2019, though he also still has it in 2022. I just don't know if he still has it in his wallet or if he's keeping it someplace else now. It's the first time that Suga ever goes to Lotte World. He leaves early because he's hungover and the rides don't help. For Jimin, it was a day that really cemented their friendship and bond as a team, and it holds a special place in his heart as a memory. March 17th, 2014. I have no idea what they did on this day in 2014. I know the day before they had a fan signing, and the day after they were on MTV The Show. They're in the middle of promoting School Love Affair and have been busy for several weeks doing so. Hopefully they actually had this day to rest. March 17th, 2015. The day before, MFBTY had released Buku Buku, which featured RM. On March 17th, RM tweets that he's also briefly in the Bang Diggity Bang Bang MV. BTS have Twitter exchanges with Drunken Tiger JK, and Jin tweets a selfie with smudged eyeliner. Not sexually smudged, like really just smudged. March 17th, 2016. RM tweets photos of himself and his dog Moni. V begins rehearsing and filming the K-drama Harang and tweets a video from the rehearsal. March 17th, 2017. BTS are in Mexico. Jimin and Jin tweet selfie videos and selfies. J-Hope and Jimin do a V-Live for V-Live membership holders only. It's J-Hope that starts the V-Live because he's bored before the concert starts. Jimin joins swiftly. Everyone is in good health. Suga and Jin are sleeping. RM is playing games. V is watching a movie. There's no mention of where JK is. They chat until they lose internet connection. After, they perform at KCON in Mexico, then post more selfies, as well as photos from the airport since they have to immediately fly to Brazil to continue their tour. March 17th, 2018. There's a blank spot where I don't know exactly what they're doing between March 15th and March 19th, but there are possibilities. They could be filming Run BTS episodes 49 to 51, which was an episode in which they looked back on all the previous episodes and gave each other awards. Or another possibility is that they're filming the short film for Euphoria, or possibly doing the Love Yourself tear jacket shoot. Both those things also have a ton of Bangtan bombs associated with them, so there's a lot of content from around this time, even though I can't pin it to a single day. March 17th, 2019. Similar to 2018, I don't know exactly what they're doing. I do know that Jimin and V posted selfies to Twitter. Other than that, there's a strong possibility that they could have been filming the Boy With Love music video featuring Halsey. March 17th, 2020. Another mystery. It's a Tuesday, though, so we get a Run BTS episode. It's episode 96, which was filmed possibly back in June of 2019. March 17th, 2021. Jimin comments on Weverse, saying that ARMY's hearts are greater than any award and he is truly always grateful. They could have also been filming their U-Quiz episode at the Korean Furniture Museum at this time. March 17th, 2022. Chapter 2 has officially started for the boys, but not for ARMY yet. V is active on Weverse and tweets a video of himself playing virtual golf. On Instagram, Hobie posts photos of Mickey, his dog. RM posts photos of charcoal iron art and recommends the song Nothing's Changed by Cisco Swank. J-Hope is possibly filming the Arson music video on this day. If he is, you can also watch the behind the scenes of the filming in the Bangtan episode J-Hope Arson Shoot Sketch on Bangtan TV YouTube channel. He shoots the music video all in one day as it's primarily composed of 2 long one-take tracking shots, plus a night scene. A similar format but completely different mood and result as Chicken Noodle Soup, which was also filmed in a day. But the secret most important thing that happened on this day is ARMY related. If you remember in last week's This Day in History, BTS had their Permission to Dance concert in Seoul on the 10th, and ARMY caught a glimpse of Jimin's new tattoos, one of which was a waning gibbous moon just below the nape of his neck. Well, on this day in BTS history, an ARMY who goes by Arizo Studios on Twitter posted a fan art that imagined Jimin's tattoo continuing down his spine with further phases of the moon. It's this piece of fan art that V stumbles across, perhaps even while tweeting that virtual golf video. V shows the fan art to Jimin, and Jimin loves it so much that he decides to make it a reality, and that's how Jimin ended up with the moon phases tattooed down his spine. March 17th, 2023. Before bed, RM posts a photo of Free Will written on a wall. Once he wakes up, he recommends the song Mercurial by Silica Gel. In New York, Jimin posts on Weverse saying that he hopes we enjoy the song. What song is he talking about, you might ask? Well, March 17th is the day that the pre-release track for Face is released, and we are gifted with the epic Set Me Free Part 2. Go listen to it today to commemorate the anniversary. Back in Korea, J-Hope posts a clip of the music video and captions it, "Finally!" He comments on Jimin's Weverse post saying it's fucking cool. V replies to Hobie's comment and asks if he thinks it's okay to swear just because he romanized it. V also takes the time to compliment the song to Jimin though. Back in New York, Jimin posts that he's still nervous and promises more to come, giving thanks to ARMY. It's also announced that he'll be on The Tonight Show the next week. Now, back to Korea, RM shares Cold's post about Smoke Sprite with a kissy face emoji. We also get episode 4 of Ginny's Kitchen released, which features V as a cast member that season. March 17th, 2024. With everyone enlisted, it's not surprising that I have absolutely nothing recorded for this day. Everyone is hard at work in their military and social work positions. And that brings us to this year, when we have Hobie hard at work on his tour and Jin hard at work doing secret things while Hobie promotes. Song discussion. Change Part 2 by RM. Change Part 2 was released on RM's album Indigo on December 2nd, 2022. Although labeled as Part 2, Change Part 2 has no relation to Change by RM and Wale, which was released in 2017. RM just named it Part 2 so that he could use the same title and not confuse people. Change Part 2 is a B-side, so there's no official music video. And because it's such a unique little song, and RM didn't do very many performances before he enlisted, there's not that many performances of it either. He did perform it live to camera in 2022, however, in the video RM Live in New York at Dia Beacon, which was posted to Bangtan TV YouTube channel shortly after Indigo's release. With Indigo's heavy theme of taking inspiration from RM's favorite contemporary artists, RM filmed a few performances at Dia Beacon, which is a museum of contemporary art. Rather than filming Change Part 2 at a particular exhibit, like he did with the 3 other songs he performed, he instead chose to film it in a large columned room lit in green lighting, in which all we can make out of RM is his silhouette against the backlight. I'll come back to this as I talk about the lyrics of the song later. Instead of doing a Weverse livestream where RM talks to the camera unscripted about the album track by track, which he has often done in the past for BTS albums, for Indigo, RM released a more formally presented magazine film, in which he and the featuring artists on the album are formally interviewed. Overall, the album Indigo is named after the artist Yoon Hong-kun's Indigo period, which is the period just before the artist found his signature style. RM named the album the same because he also hoped that this was the period before he found his own signature style. This album explored different styles in order to help RM find the one that called the most to him. Personally, I think Change Part 2 is very much the biggest indicator of what we were going to get in Right Place, Wrong Person, which was the follow-up to Indigo. Despite having released a mixtape and the mono album previously, RM very much saw Indigo as his debut album that was just him. As the primary lyricist and leader of BTS, RM has a heavy hand in BTS's albums. But they're still BTS's albums, not his own, so they're not purely RM's vision. Everyone has to come together on them and compromise on what might be their own preferred styles or personal signature sounds. With writing so much to BTS's signature sound, I can understand why RM felt that his own style was slow to develop, or perhaps felt like it was escaping him as to what it actually was. In my personal opinion, RM got fairly burnt out during the pandemic when all BTS's plans had to change, and as a result, their planned break for military enlistment also got pushed back. So RM had all the responsibility of leading BTS without break longer than expected. A whole album longer. The album B wouldn't have existed without the pandemic. I just wanted to put that out there as we consider the frame of mind RM was in during the roughly 2 to 3 years that he was working on Indigo. For Change Part 2, RM wanted to capture the fact that everything changes, but that we as humans hate change, even though we're always changing, and the contradictory nature of that fact. Change Part 2 was produced by Aeon, who RM has worked with previously on Bad Bye off of Mono, as well as featuring in Aeon's song Don't. The song was written by RM. Just a note, if I'm pronouncing Aeon wrong, let me know. It's kind of spelt in sort of with emphasis on the A, which is why I am pronouncing that stronger. But if it's Ian, let me know. RM felt Aeon was the best person to arrange the song, so RM got really drunk and went over to his house. Or perhaps RM happened to be drunk one day while stopping by to visit Aeon. And he sang a guide track on the spot for him in order for Aeon to understand what RM was picturing for the song, and then he left. Aeon ended up using that drunken guide vocal for the track instead of re-recording when sober. Aeon saw it as an opportunity to do things you usually don't do in K-pop, since the song was unlike anything you'd hear on a K-pop stage. Up until the middle of the song, there's just voice, drums, and one instrument, rather than the multiple layers of a typical K-pop track. RM remarks that it's the most experimental track on the album, and really that's why for me, it's the track that is the greatest sign of what was and what likely still is to come from RM. A song that, in Aeon's words, overturns stereotypes or biases or general knowledge of how producing should be. The production matches the theme of the song, in that the beat and style is constantly changing as RM's voice or tempo changes as he sings. There's not a consistent musical hook or a predictable repeating instrumentation on the chorus. RM places Change Part 2 as the last song in the second section of Indigo, so it concludes a kind of mini trilogy within the album with Forgetful and Closer, though in his Reverse Comeback Live, RM said that the tracks 1 to 5 are like side A of the album, and Change Part 2 as track 6 kicks off side B. Now let's get into the lyrics so that I can circle back to that Dia Deacon performance. The lyrics are all in English, so I don't have to rely on translators for this one. The song starts with the chorus. Things change, people change, everything change. Love change, friends change, everyone change. It is no strange, that's the world's shape. And that sets up our theme quite nicely. The first verse approaches change through the lens of a relationship. RM can't believe that there was a version of him that loved this unnamed person once, though recognizing that they had chemistry. Eventually, they changed. They wanted more. RM finishes the verse by remarking, "They say you can't fix someone. Seems you got one fit you right." And yeah, in my experience, that's accurate. As much as everything changes, you can't change another person. Finding a relationship is all about finding someone who fits you as you are. And sometimes that as you are changes, or they change, quite outside of your control. And you've got to cut your losses and each find a new person that fits. The pre-chorus is next, and that's where I want to loop back to the Dia Beacon performance. RM sings, "Fuck my interviews and years ago. I'm whole different, not that anymore. Fuck that wiki, fuck all those infos. What a stranger, I don't know this fool." This is where I think performing the song in silhouette at Dia Beacon was a brilliant choice. Who is RM? We can't see him clearly. We can see an outline of him. But what color are his clothes, his skin, his hair, his boots? And this green-tinged black silhouette? Does he have makeup on? Does he not? Where are his eyes looking as he sings? We don't know. We only know the basics. This is a rough shape of RM. I talked about this a little bit in the episode about Jungkook's song Begin, but I think particularly in fandom, we have a tendency to freeze people in time, as though they have always and will always have a particular aspect to their personality, as though people don't change, evolve, or grow over time, as though their life experiences have no effect whatsoever on how they interact with the world or their behavior. I think this happens because we can watch content from any year currently. And so that previous year feels much more immediate to us, even though it might be 5 or 10 years ago. We just watched it yesterday. That was that person just yesterday for us. But in reality, 10 years have passed since that person filmed that content. We do it with our family and friends too, though. But RM, the rest of BTS, and other celebrities get the experience of having those personalities cemented in articles, wikis, and profile videos on YouTube. You have a whole army of people pulling up an interview you gave in 2016 or 2018 and acting as though you're still in whatever mental or physical space you were in back then. It's almost easier to think of it as a physical space to understand the absurdity of it. Any interviewer asking BTS if they've upgraded the bunk beds in their dorm lately would be laughed at for obviously horrendous, outdated information. And yet, if it's a question around personality that is based on old information, we don't see it as too outdated. For instance, RM was a huge fan of Drake in 2018 and 2019. Is he still? We don't know. And it doesn't even have to be because of the recent Kendrick-Drake spat. It could be that RM's music taste has changed, or that Drake's style has. Personally, there are a few artists that I like for some albums, then the artist changes in a way that I no longer vibe with. Should I still be cemented as their fan for the end of time? No, we've grown apart, just like the relationship that RM referenced in the first verse. Something in my life, or the artist's life, changed how I perceive their music, changed that part of our personality that liked that music. When I was a teen, I loved really loud, guitar-heavy songs. Things I could blast, like the moody teenager that I was. These days, I like production where the instrumentation isn't an indistinguishable wall of sound better suited for the back of the guitar truck in Mad Max Fury Road. I like things simpler, cleaner. I like to be able to actually hear the individual instruments. RM looks back on old interviews and sees someone who is a stranger, someone he no longer is. He might have been built from that person, but he no longer feels he has much in common with them besides a vocation and a birth name. Of course, that's RM's perception. I found it funny in the Mini Money Music YouTube content that we got for Right Place, Wrong Person, that when Jimin was asked if RM had changed since they first met, Jimin answered that he was just the same, that the conversations they have are the same, that the questions he asks are the same. Meanwhile, when they ask the same to RM says that Jimin has changed, but for the way Jimin has changed, it's in relation to RM's perception of him. RM saw Jimin as a little brother to look after, and now Jimin, as he has aged, has become a trusted friend. For Jimin, his perception of RM has stayed the same. RM is someone who continually asks philosophical questions and concerns himself with the question of how best to grow as an artist and as a person. So while RM has grown as a person and an artist since all his wiki articles were written, Jimin does not see this growth as a fundamental change to who RM is as a human. He may have changed the details, but that outline of him, that silhouette, is still recognizable to Jimin as the RM he met in 2012. From here in the song, the chorus repeats in the song one more time, and then we get the outro. You gotta admit it. Don't you get it still? Someday a great grief will come for you. And then you'll know it too. You can't love someone like I do. That's all I can say to you. And here the message gets a little muddier. Is RM talking metaphorically? How no one can escape the great grief that is change? We want things to stay the same, but inevitably change comes, and we grieve that illusion of stability that we thought we could have? Or is RM talking to a specific person here, someone who didn't love at the same intensity as him? How one day they'll grieve the same way he is for the loss of a relationship. Though if they can't love someone to the same intensity, how will they experience the same grief? Perhaps this is another contradiction. Or can RM love the way he does because he recognizes that change happens, so he can love people and things through the change, while others fail to do so? Or is RM drunkenly singing English words that fit vaguely with the theme he's going for, and he doesn't really mean anything by them? These are all questions only RM can answer, and his answer might change depending on when you ask him. And that's it for change, which means it's time to spin the random wheel to pick next week's song. So let me pull that up and then edit all the blank space while I do so later. And the winner is, oh my goodness. The winner is, we are sticking with our M, and we are going to talk about the wonderfully epic song that is Wildflower with Eugene from the same album, Indigo, released in 2022. So yeah, that's my homework for next week. We'll see how I do with that one. And that brings us to the end of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to discuss this episode, today's song, or have a say in what song gets selected for discussion in the future, you can find me over at Patreon at A Brand New Day Pod. You can also email me at abrandnewdaypod@gmail.com or find me on Blue Sky under A Brand New Day Pod. Thanks. Have a good rest of your day.